A new NBC poll shows a deep divide in priorities between Gen Z voters who voted for Kamala Harris versus those who voted for President Trump. We're going to break this down in a second. So if you can't really see that, don't worry. The starkest contrast is over family. To put it bluntly, Democratic voters do not rank having children or getting married or having a spiritual foundation as markers of life success. Both men and women in this group ranked their own careers, their own possessions, their own bank accounts over family life. Marriage and children ranked towards the bottom of the list. For Republican voters, that was switched. Marriage and family ranked at the top. Strangely enough, this is not something I would have predicted, is that male Republican voters had children as the number one indicator of life's success. Now, I also want to...
That's our whole job. I mean, I hate to be a kind of a dick about it.
To make the babies, not necessarily to take care of them. So, you know, I think women, we're told that men don't care about having a family. Maybe they like to practice to have a family.
What men, first of all, what women are told that men are, that is our primary job, is to procreate, have children, and to care for those children and protect them like lions. That's our job. That's our main thing.
Well, I will speak as someone who is very indoctrinated by liberal ideology. So I will say that we are told that it is weakness to want to get married and have babies. You are then the Charlotte of the Sex and the City, and she was positioned as the one who, like, you want a marriage and family? Why? You're so weak. Your career is not important. You would just walk away from it. You say out loud that you want to not be alone, and that was presented as weakness. And then we were subsequently told that men don't want that either, and if you pressure them, you're a drag, and that if you that all they want to do is have one thing from you, but no actual commitment. And so women believe that. So we're sort of taught not to ask for anything stable. So yes, but it turns out that men who voted conservative had a high priority on having children, and being married was number 4 on their list. Yeah, look at that on the left. These graphics were tweeted by Steve Kornacki, I believe. Owning a home, having no debt, you know, the sort of the material things ranked lower, interestingly enough, even though Trump voters are more affluent than Kamala Harris voters by and large.
Is that true? That's kind of shocking to me.
I would say...
You would think like affluent liberals.
Well, okay.
I mean, is that part of the data?
That is not part of the data. That's my extrapolation, because
blue collar Trump voters probably, are working their asses off. And, I highly doubt that most Trump voters are wealthy.
But Democrats, we know from their playbook, rely heavily on welfare, DMV, Medicaid voter signups. That they prey on low-income voters because they believe that the poorest of the poor will vote for them. So I think I would have to see. Okay, so I can't quantify that statement. We'll just say that that's my opinion. I don't know for a fact. But when we're looking at self-proclaimed life priorities, Democrats across the board rank higher, having fulfilled that. Well, it's a lot of, in my opinion, navel-gazing. Fulfilling job, career, having money to do the things you want, financial independence, owning a home, no debt. Now, it's interesting that I think that you probably could switch out emotional stability for being spiritually grounded for both groups. So whereas Republicans say spiritual grounding, I think they say would lead to emotional stability. Democrats want emotional stability, but they have no spirituality from which to pull it from. So that becomes their religion. That's, again, my interpretation of this, is that they have to find it internally because they don't have the social support. Now, this is not me saying religion is where you get your emotional stability, but every parenting book that you will read tells you that the number one predictor of success in children, and again, this is an aggregate, is having dinner with a nuclear family, having married parents, and having regular chores, regular interaction with a reliable family unit and religion. And you don't have to like it, but that's what the data shows. And so it does show that what I am saying and what I think is that people who rank spirituality higher I think that they're looking for the same thing, is emotional stability. Now, where do you think, though, this divide comes from? And I've thought about this a lot as a woman who had, again, this liberal indoctrination. And I had this, on our honeymoon, I had this epiphany because I felt like, well, I finally got the marriage that I've wanted. You know, I feel weak for having wanted it. And we were walking along this boardwalk in Bordeaux where we went on our honeymoon. And there were all these families. And I thought, wait, I think I'm supposed to want this. I think that
but you've been so indoctrinated
normal.
as a San Francisco liberal that you're like, wait a minute, I was told I'm not supposed to want this.
I saw these families. Remember, there was a carnival or a circus, and like little kids with their balloons. These French families, mom and dad, and they were so happy and taking their kids somewhere. And I was like, I think you're supposed to have wanted this all along. And I was told it was a weakness to have wanted it, and I felt weak for having got there. Isn't that crazy? How'd you marry a woman like this? But that's literally how you know.
But it's growth. I mean, this is, you know, when you can admit that you have seen things and you grow from that, that's what all of us should want, is to be able to like learn from and grow as a human being. Right?
And I think something I think about all the time is, how do I let my daughter know that it's okay to not want to be alone, to have meaningful relationships in your life? You don't have to be afraid.
You have to be like all these New York
You're
City.
not weak for thinking that a man would add value to your life. Well, you've heard us talk about the transformative results that people see after using Genucel. Well, here's a real story from Sandra from Virginia. She says, this is a true story. After 5 days of using Genucel products, my husband said, "You look young. Whatever you're doing is working." Yes, it sounds like a fake commercial, but that's really what happened. He didn't know I had bought the Genucel products. I like the texture. Products are easy to use and working fine on my very sensitive skin. I've tried many expensive products, and this one works. Well, now it's your turn to see results just like that with Genucel's end-of-season summer sale. There's only a few days left to get it. It includes the Genucel Complete Skincare Package at 70% off with the dark spot corrector, plus the Genucel bags and puffiness treatments. This is the best skincare in the world, and you are getting it risk-free. Go to Genucel.com/redacted and start looking years, maybe even decades younger tomorrow. All orders are upgraded to free shipping when you use our link. So again, that's Genucel.com/redacted. Genucel.com/redacted. See results in day one. You'll get compliments everywhere you go, guaranteed, or your money back. Genucel.com/redacted.
You see all these like New York City women, like they just like work all day and they're just kind of miserable.
Right.
You know, we knew so many of them living in New York City, and they're all single, you know, and they're like mostly all single. They don't have any kind of man in their life, and they work nonstop, and they go to like Whole Foods and get their dinner, and they sit on the couch and watch like Sex in the City at night. But
I think that these women are walking around the idea of it and approaching it from different ways. Like, maybe I'll try this app. Maybe I'll try going on these types of things. They want it. They're afraid to say they want it, and that makes me sad. And I see now that the media continues to promote family breakdown as empowerment. Now, maybe this is just what's aimed at me now that I am a married woman, because when I was a single woman, I was told this is the best way to be. Being a single woman, I can do whatever I want. I have, you know, a job. I have a career. I'm free as a bird. If you want more than this, that's a personal flaw. Now that I am a married woman, I see that the breakdown of the family is promoted to me. That became clear when I read this recent New York Post report on how meno divorce is on the rise because middle-aged women are leaving their marriages because of this built-up resentment. Again, which is just such navel-gazing. You think men don't have built-up resentment because raising a family together is hard? But no, it's all about you. You've been repressed. You haven't been able to do whatever the heck you wanted for all this time. You should absolutely do it. Look at this Telegraph report that came across lately. This woman says, I got married, I was monogamous. That was so boring. I couldn't find myself. Now I have all these sexual partners. I'm so happy. Some are men, some are women. I do this in the house with my 13-year-old child. Ugh. This is empowerment. My husband still lives there.
What?
But it's the craziest article. I read it and you'll be like, is this selfish person really being promoted as empowerment? Okay. But let's look at the data again. Does this really deliver fulfillment? Does a Sex and the City lifestyle with no one to care for and no one to care for you in return really the recipe for happiness? And why would the liberal media continue to promote it? Well, the data says otherwise. This new study recently published shows that marriage and parenthood do increase the likeliness of happiness. Humans do, in fact, crave deep, lasting connections. This is suddenly treated as novel. The data has been replicated over and over again that people who are married and also parents, if we look at this data, report higher levels of happiness. Now, again, think of all the propaganda that has to come at young people to tell them that a loving family will tie you down from your life's personal destiny. Despite all the propaganda romanticizing being alone, there has not been studies that show that people who are alone are happier, that they aim for that, that they don't have any goals to ever change that or have any life's partners. So again, if Democrats really cared about their voters, they would not punch down at the idea of having a family. The very thing, and we've even shown you the data again from Thomas Sowell showing that Black families are more likely to far less likely to be in poverty if they are married. That includes financial stability and all kinds of. So anyhow, and instead, Democrats have earned themselves the reputation of being lonely and bitter and shriveled up, and maybe that's why they're bleeding viewers. As the New York Times showed us recently. And even Taylor Swift, who came out as in support of Kamala Harris as a lonely cat woman, has decided to get married because that's, again, a very natural human desire, is to have a lasting connection with somebody. So why do you think they would continue to promote this narrative, letting their voters think of nothing other than themselves? They might want to rethink that before their base of embittered singles just dies out because they don't have any family. I mean, who would have thought in the year 2025 that it's considered radical to believe that family matters? So let us know what you think of that.